Yes, we can.
This is Andy Steiner. I'm just hopping on Jeff's. So
I think hopefully most everybody noticed the change in voice there. So
yeah,
thank you,
yeah.
Andy, and
No,
we'll get started.
that should be easier. And as Jeff was saying, I particularly work just with the NOI process with projects under 25 megawatts. And the NOI process is, I mean, it can be simple, but there's complications to it as well. But I look at projects that are all within agricultural districts and that are publicly funded. Those are required to go through the NOI process. So we receive the NOIs from funding and filing entities, which is generally NYSERDA. We do get other people that may submit, but I haven't seen any yet, but it's possible depending on where the grants are coming from. So when we look at these projects, we initially look just for the completeness. How completed is it? Is the information accurate? Do the maps line up with the acreages announced in the NOI? How does the project footprint look? How many soils, how many acres of soils are impacted in mineral soil groups 1 through 4? That's what we generally try to protect, especially when it's on active agriculture. Could there be alternative layouts or alternative sites? And we always try to ask for alternative sites if we can, just to see, what other sites were investigated, so that kind of certain companies can basically, can we move it to avoid those MSG 1 through 4 soils, or different sites better, and why are different sites not going to work versus this one that you have proposed? Once the department deems these complete, we have a statutory 30-day comment period from the DEC, the AFPB, and the ACA. Those also get sent to town supervisors, and then we receive comments back. We hope to receive comments back so that we can send them to the director and the commissioner so that they can then sign off on the project. While all that is happening, we also look at mitigation, or we do the alternative review, and that's all depending on how the project is sited. Are we talking it's on 100% agriculture and 100% mineral soil groups 1 through 4? Or are we talking, it's going to impact some underutilized lands, which obviously would be preferred. Jeff, next slide. That's all right. Sorry about that. So to put things kind of in perspective, in the growth since I've been here since February of 2020, I have reviewed approximately over 300 projects. In 2019, before I got here, 98 of those were reviewed. And then obviously substantial growth in 2020, and with 162 projects reviewed, and now we're currently sitting at 90 so far this year. To put things in perspective, the average size of these projects are generally 5 to 7 megawatts, which are pretty small scale in comparison to some of the Article 10 projects that may be happening, that a lot of people are very aware of. And they generally occupy less than 30 acres. Every now and again, you get a couple that might increase the size depending on if they have to cut trees for shading issues or something of that nature. But again, to put things in perspective, a single Article 10 project can exceed the total acres of the solar arrays reviewed under this NOI process by the department in any given year. So basically, if I reviewed 90 projects this year, they may accumulate to 2,000 acres, and one Article 10 project may be the equivalent of that. Jeff, you can go to the next slide. And then just some solar trends to finish some things up. We are starting to see more projects impacting less soils in soil groups 1 through 4, or using non-agricultural or underutilized lands. Like I said, obviously that's preferred. We're trying to minimize or eliminate projects from impacting this prime farmland and active agriculture. We're also seeing more and more projects being located outside of the ag district, and I'm reviewing those mostly through the seeker process, so not through the NOI process, because it wouldn't be a requirement. Some of the questions that are frequently asked during the review process to further understand why the project companies may be picking a location. We're always trying to figure out, what other alternatives were looked at. Are there any other sites that can be looked at that may not actively impact active agriculture? Like it says, can we change the array? Can we reorient the array to maybe impact less soils or less agriculture, or maybe there might be easier access for the farmer to continue farming other parts of the field? is the access maintained? All that's pretty big stuff to try to accommodate not only the solar but the farming aspect as well. As we're currently going, NYSERDA and the department are working on policy adjustments because obviously there is a need for renewable energy, but it's a constant balancing act of trying to protect the resource and also try to balance the governor's initiatives of becoming 70% green by the year 2030. So with that, I kind of left a bunch of links here. Again, we have Ian's contact information up there. The New York Sun is one of NYSERDA's documents, which goes towards the siting guidelines. We've also included, obviously, the solar guidebook, like Jeff talked about, and then as an extra, I have the solar construction guidelines, which at this point in time is required by all solar under 25 megawatts. That is a requirement based on a new agreement with NYSERDA. And then my information's on the next slide. And with that, we can open it up to questions.